Hello guys. This week we are covering chapter 8. This is such an important chapter and I have a lot of materials up there that I would like you to look at. I have, first of all, my PowerPoint that I made in grad school. My thesis and project for grad school was a training for doctors delivering end-of-life messages. And this chapter is all about death and dying and the types of support people get in the healthcare world. So it's applicable. And there's other things up there as well. I'm going to just turn to it real quick. And we'll look at these materials that are in here. Thank you. Thank you for being patient with me. All right, so what we have here is for chapter 8, we have quite a few things. We have links, some excellent videos. How doctors tell patients they are going to die. We watched in class the other day. It was so well done. And it was an actual video with real people that were in that experience in real time, and it showed a doctor doing an excellent job at doing that. There was some self-assessments, some little fun crossword puzzles and word games that just help you with some of the vocabulary. I put my son's stories link on here. It's a Miracle, Josiah's Journey, It's a Miracle. That's my son's story, and it's on YouTube, and it's pretty interesting and involves a lot of the things that we're talking about right now. How to Die in Oregon trailer is an excellent documentary about the right to die. And then Compassion and the True Meaning of Empathy was a really good video. And then the PowerPoint is up there. And so there's just a lot of good stuff there. But I wanted to go over some things that we mainly touched on in class today. Yesterday, we talked about how different people cope when they're told they're going to die. The way that doctors tell people they're going to die, the poor way they often do it, and what's important. We talked about how difficult it is to realize that you're going to die, where it's very hard for us to accept that. And so we don't have a sense of control. And people have different wishes for how they want to die and what they want to know. I asked the class, if you knew you were going to die, if you were given that diagnosis and were terminal, how many of you would have a lot of questions and would want to know everything? Like, how long do you think I have? What does it look like? What will happen to me as I get closer? About half of the class raised their hand and said that I would want to know. The other half didn't. And they were like, I wouldn't want to know. I would just kind of want to know, okay, that's going to happen, but in the meantime, I'm just going to live my life. So we're all different in that area. When people are in a crisis, there's so many different types of support that we can offer them. And there is a little crossword puzzle that helps you with some of those words. There was instrumental support. That is like doing physical things, to taking somebody's kid to school when they can't, offering grocery runs, that kind of thing. There's informational support, which is when you tell them, you get information for them. You might search out information. You might find other people for them that know about stuff or have been through what they've been through. Self-esteem support, if somebody's going through cancer and chemo and they've lost their hair, you might want to help them find wigs. I started doing that when I got cancer, and I've never stopped, even though I don't have cancer anymore. So I actually get called on sometimes. Hey, my mom has cancer. Can you please tell me where to get wigs, or blah, blah, blah. Emotional support, just being there for somebody. And we talked about the role of silence and how sometimes people they're in pain and they're grieving and they need you just to sit with them in that pain. Sometimes words aren't even necessary. It's just your presence. In fact, oftentimes our words come across either wrong or trite, or it's just not helpful. So, and then a social network support, and how important that is to connect with other people that are going through the same thing. And how we offer that support. And when support goes wrong, when friends disappear, when people are hurtful, when people give too much support. I know this seems crazy, but it can happen in families when someone is going to die or someone is having a terminal illness and it's very serious. Sometimes the way people cope with that is they just get over involved and they can be smothering, and that can be really difficult for the person that is terminal, and they can be stressed out because of that, and it's not helpful. So that's what they mean by too much support. Friends disappearing. I remember when my son was diagnosed, and he was 3, and he was in like a Christian preschool down the street, a Lutheran preschool. And then when he couldn't go to school anymore, because he couldn't walk, I remember wanting some of his friends to come see him and play with him. And we had him in this big king size bed, and we had toys and things. And only one mother out of 10 would let her child come because they didn't want them to get involved, 4-year-olds to have to explain why somebody might die. And I understand that. I got it, but it was really hurtful at the time. During these stressful times of an illness and a sickness, it's interesting if whatever dysfunctions your family has, whatever issues you have, they all rise to the surface. The good and the bad comes out of us in crisis times. And sometimes it is very, very bittersweet. I just watched a film not long ago. If you IMDb Susan Sarandon, it was about a woman, which was her. Susan Sarandon was the character who was dying, and she wanted to take her own life through a cocktail of medicine that had been given her by a doctor. But she wanted to have a party, have a weekend with her children all around her, her adult children. And then at the end of the weekend, she was going to drink this stuff and just be gone. And it was a very, very good film, but it showed how hard it can be to navigate these things and how hard it is in our relationships. So basically, the whole idea of end of life, what we can expect, what we should expect. We talked in our live class about how we have compassion and empathy for our animals when they're suffering, and we don't want them to suffer, so we go put them down. And we talked about how yet many as humans, we let people suffer until they just expire. And is that ethical? Is that right? Is there such a thing as a good death? I believe there is. And we talked about how birth is such a contrast. We all are born and we all will die. And how our births are celebrated, but our deaths are feared. And that's not necessarily consistent. And that we should be able to die with dignity if we want to. We had that discussion. And then there's some practical things in this chapter about advanced care directives. What are your wishes? And it's best to put those in writing when you're not sick, so people know what to do during that time. Okay? And again, delivering bad news to patients as medical providers is something that they still need a lot of work on. But it's coming along. The communication field is stressing this more and more. So please look at all the materials I put in the module. I hope they're helpful. Spring break is next week. And I just want you to enjoy yourself. Be safe. And I will talk to you soon. Thank you so much. Talk to you in a few weeks.